content presented in this podcast is based on real events and may contain graphic descriptions of violence, sensitive topics, and explicit language that may be triggering, offensive, or sensitive subjects to some viewers and listeners. Discretion is advised. The purpose of this podcast is to explore and discuss true crime cases for entertainment and educational purposes only. This podcast does not intend to glorify or sensationalize crime, but rather aims to analyze and understand the complexities of human behavior in the criminal justice system. We encourage listeners to approach this content with empathy, critical thinking, respect for the victims and their families. Two mothers, both seemingly devoted to their children, creating a world where everything looks perfect from the outside. One is a YouTube sensation, building an empire off the lives of her children, while the other crafts a carefully curated image of the family life for the world to see. They share a common thread. They both claim to love their children above all else, but beneath the polished surface, a far darker truth lies hidden. Don't worry, there won't be any wire hangers in this episode, but these two mommy dearests make Joan Crawford seem more like June Cleaver. So pull that hidden bottle of hooch out from back of the wash machine, pour yourself a glass of relaxation, sit back because it's time to start the show. Let's hit it. Hi, welcome to another episode of Mysteries, Mayhem, and Merlot. I am your host, Winnie Schrader. Well, it's Mother's Day today. It's that time we celebrate those selfless, fierce, and loving women that raised us. But what happens when that maternal instinct is replaced with manipulation, control, and exploitation? Today we're not talking about the moms who pack lunches and kiss scraped knees, but we're talking about the ones who have literally turned their kids into content cashed in on their childhoods and left behind more trauma than memories. When you've got a monster instead of a mother, Mother's Day hits a little different. Now, tonight we're going to dive into some modern day horror stories hiding behind the ring lights and the brand deals, the world of kid-fluencers. We're going to be unpacking Netflix's chilling documentary, Bad Influence, The Dark Side of Kid-fluencing, with the momager from hell, Tiffany Smith. Then take a look at good old mommy dearest, Ruby Franke. So if you thought stage moms of the 90s were intense, well, buckle up. What is a child influencer? Well, child influencers, they're minors, obviously, often under the age of 13, who appear regularly on social media content, typically on platforms like YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, often under the management of their parents and guardians. Their content ranges from toy reviews to challenges to family vlogs and sponsored posts. Now, these kids are essentially performing in entertainment or advertising roles without formal contracts or protections. Now imagine being a full-time performer before you've even lost all your baby teeth and your boss is your mom. Oh my God. Now, family vlogging channels are social media accounts, mainly like on YouTube, where parents film and publish day-to-day activities of their children, from birthdays, vacations, to punishments and emotional moments. Monetization avenues include AdSense revenue from YouTube ads, brand partnerships like toys, clothing, snacks, etc. They get affiliate links and product placements, merchandise lines, often featuring the children in it. Sponsorships of major corporations targeting families and kids. Now, examples are like the LeBrant fam, 8 Passengers, and the Ace family are among some of the high-profile family vloggers who made millions through YouTube and brand deals. Now, the stats and followers on the revenue, according to Forbes, estimate some family channels earn millions annually. For instance, Ryan's World, the little boy that always did toy reviews and things like that. My boys watched him all the time. He earned $27 million in 2020 alone.
You're kidding me, right?
Now, channels like the Ace Family have pulled in tens of millions of views per month, likely millions in revenue annually. Now, Pew Research shows that kids under the age of 13 among the top content creators by engagement, even though YouTube's official minimum age is 13. Now, 2023 estimates suggested that child influencers were generating a $250 million annual industry in the US alone. Now, blurred lines between work and play, that children are filmed constantly in everyday situations. What may look like fun is often a workday in disguise, with hours of filming, scripted content and moments, and multiple takes. Now, unlike child actors in traditional media, kid-fluencers in the US have no federal labor laws regulating their work hours, pay structure, or even their access to the earnings. Now, in many cases, kids receive none of the profits they help generate. Now, parents manage these accounts and make financial decisions and often claim to own the content and earnings. Now, cases like Ruby Franke and others show how control can cross into manipulation, abuse, or neglect, both emotionally and financially. Now, before family vlogging on YouTube was super huge, us older folks, what we knew as kind of family vlogging shows were like the Duggars, or remember John and Kate plus 8, or Octomom, whatever happened to her. But those were basically family vlogging shows, but they were put on by networks, which gave them that protections and stuff under child labor laws, I believe. But now, basically, what they've done with family vlogging is they just cut out the middleman, and they are the owner of their content. They produce it, put it up, promote it. They don't need a network for this. That's why it's so unregulated, and that's why we need to start looking at making laws for these content creators. Yeah, so obviously there's abuse going on, manipulation, probably, the finances. These kids, they're the ones doing all the work, and they're not even getting any monetary benefit from it at all. Okay, up first, we got the devil in the family, the fall of Ruby Franke. Now, she was once a celebrated family vlogger. Now she's a family monster vlogger, I guess. But let's take a look and see what this hot mess of a case looked like. Now, Ruby Franke was a once celebrated family vlogger behind the YouTube channel's 8 Passengers. With a subscriber count peaking at nearly 3 million people, the channel portrayed an image of a wholesome, devout Mormon family. However, beneath the surface lay a disturbing reality. The docuseries chronicles the events leading up to Ruby Franke's arrest in August of 2023 for aggravated child abuse. The catalyst was a harrowing incident where her 12-year-old son escaped from the home of Ruby Franke's business associate, Jody Hildebrand, appearing malnourished with visible injuries. This revelation exposed a pattern of severe disciplinary practices, including starvation and isolation, influenced by Hildebrand's extreme counseling methods. Now, one thing that in the docuseries that I was kind of leery about was Ruby Franke's husband, Kevin Franke, in knowing that he was complacent, but it was almost like he was brainwashed and didn't know exactly. He was just complacent, like a robot or something. I'm not sure, but I was very interested to see what his take on what happened in the last few years, with the family and all their vlogging and having Jody Hildebrand introduced into the family. She ended up moving into their home. It was just very weird. But another thing they also featured were their eldest children, Sherry and Chad. Now, Sherry, I find interesting. She doesn't even refer Ruby as her mom. She just calls her Ruby. And she, I believe, has completely cut ties with her. They had a lot of pain. I could tell watching the docuseries that they have some deep psychological scars going on of what happened within that home. Now, this series provides an intimate look into the family's dynamics and psychological manipulation they endured. There's over 1,000 hours of unseen footage from 8 Passengers channel, offer a stark contrast between the family's online persona and their private struggles. Now, one thing that I feel that was probably really, really hard on the kids were having this public persona and a private reality. I can't imagine. I couldn't imagine as an adult trying to handle that. I couldn't. That would have to be so hard on a child to have to figure that out because they're trying to still figure out who they are. But let's kind of delve into this kind of aspect of it because I find this kind of intriguing. Ruby Franke cultivated an image of an ideal mother through her popular YouTube channel, 8 Passengers, showcasing a wholesome, disciplined family life. However, behind the scenes, her children endured severe emotional, physical abuse. Her daughter, Sherry Franke, revealed that loving mother portrayed online was a complete facade, stating that the nice version of her was manufactured for YouTube. This stark contrast between a public image and private reality underscores the potential for social media platforms to mask underlying family issues. Now, Jody Hildebrandt coming into the picture, a counselor, a co-founder of Connections Classroom, played a pivotal role in exacerbating the family's dysfunction. Her teachings rooted in extreme religious ideologies promoted harsh disciplinary methods. Jody Hildebrandt is a counselor and a co-founder of the Connections Classroom. She portrayed herself as like a therapist or a psychologist or something, but she actually is not. She played a pivotal role in exacerbating the family's dysfunction. Her teachings, rooted in extreme religious ideologies, promoted harsh disciplinary methods and emotional suppression. Hildebrandt's influence led Ruby Franke to adopt punitive practices, including binding children and denying them food. Under the guise of spiritual correction, both these women were convicted of aggravated child abuse and sentenced to prison.
You cut one more thing in my house. I'm going to take the scissors, look at me, and I'm going to cut its head off.
Grandma will be so mad.
Eve did not pack a lunch today. Hopefully nobody gives her food and nobody steps in and gives her a lunch.
I want to get out of this conversation.
Oh no, this is an uncomfortable conversation we must have.
Am I mad? Are you angry at me?
Let's sit. I gave Julie a tongue lashing that will not ever be repeated nor recorded. Just use your imagination. It was bad. I am gonna say one nice thing, and that is you took your lashing very well. And I'm going to pretend that life is exactly how I want it.
I want to go.
All right?
I want to go get dressed for football.
You're gonna have to go find your shorts. Oh, did you see the socks you threw at the side of the garden? And you are not going anywhere unless you pick up your junk. You've got crap thrown all around. Now, so you see, now I'm using bad language. That's how bad of a mood I'm in. You get your socks picked up and don't you leave your stuff out anymore.
Where?
Right over there. Run and go pick them up. And then give me 10 push-ups. Put them in your pockets so you can take them down to the hamper and drop and give me 10.
1.
Put your hands straight out. They're in. They're not supposed to be out. Shape your hands forward. There you go. 1, 2. Down further. Bring your butt down.
Ooh.
I I'm only going to say it one more time, and then you're going to lose the privilege to eat dinner.
My bedroom was taken away for 7 months, and then you give it back like a couple weeks ago.
Unless you find a friend who's willing to share some of their food with you, I don't think you're going to be able to eat.
But the one thing that really, really gets to me is the psychological impact that it had on those children that lived in that home. Sherry and Chad times of being isolated and subjected to extreme punishments, while Sherry described the long-term effects on emotional and manipulation. Their testimonies highlight the lasting damage inflicted by the abusive parenting masked as discipline. Dangers to family vlogging. I mean, you're putting so much personal information out there for the world to see. And it's going to get scrutinized, and you're going to get people that are jealous or envy you. So they're just going to be rude and assholes. But case brings to light the ethical concerns surrounding family vlogging, especially children featured in such content often lack agency and exposed to scrutiny without consent. I mean, Sherry Franke criticized the practice, stating that it turned her childhood into a full-time job, and emphasized the need for regulations to protect minors in digital media. This case has spurred legislative efforts to states like Utah to implement safeguards for child influencers. So when did everything fall apart for Ruby Franke and basically Jodi Hildebrandt? Well, the turning point came when Franke's 12-year-old son managed to escape from the home of Jodi Hildebrandt, and he went and sought help from the neighbor. The neighbor that the boy found and went to, they had a Ring camera, and it recorded the boy coming up. It is kind of emotional. I mean, you can tell that the gentleman that lived at that residence, seeing what the condition of the boy really impacted him. So let's take a look at that clip.
Shit.
Hi, how is you? Wondering if you could do 2 favors.
Well, what are they?
Taking me to the nearest police station. Luckily, this one's fine.
What's going on, son? Have a seat there.
Tuesday. Correctional Tuesday.
Have a seat. What's your name? I just had a 12-year-old boy show up here at my front door asking for help. And he's said he just came up from the neighbor's house. He's emaciated. He's got tape around his leg. He's hungry and he's thirsty.
Need someone immediately.
But he has duct tape around his injury.
There's swords around him.
Yeah, there's sores around him. I think there's a good chance he's been.
He also has.
Oh, and he has it around his ankle
as well.
and his wrist as well. Okay, this boy has been.
Needs immediate attention. Oh, you were such a good kid.
This kid is obviously been. I think he's shaken. So he escaped.
So we need the police here now.
They're on the line.
See, guys, what is it? I gave it.
These folks are going to examine it.
Now, when the responders got there, the child appeared emaciated. He had duct tape covering like wounds. And another thing too, the wounds, how they would dress them, they put like cloth or paper towels, but they would pack the wounds with like cayenne pepper and then tape it up with duct tape. It was just, I can't even with these mothers, these people. I can't understand the logic in that at all. Now, when emergency responders discovered another one of Franke's children, a 10-year-old daughter, also showing signs of severe malnutrition, both children were taken to the hospital for treatment. Subsequent investigations revealed that the children had been subjected to physical abuse, including being bound with rope, and had been deprived of food and basic necessities.
How did you get the ropes on you? Who did them? You're not in trouble with me, okay? We're just trying to figure out what's going on. Our main focus right now is you, okay? Who put the ropes on you? Supposed to help you what?
I'm not gonna step out of the house.
Step out of the house.
Whoa.
We're just gonna stay in the house. They're gonna be out front.
Wait a minute, how do you come in my house?
Right there.
A little boy who managed to escape this house of horrors to ask for help led police to this home on August 30th. The home owned by formerly licensed mental health counselor Jody Hildebrandt. The police search came after a neighbor reported a young, malnourished child with severe wounds showed up on his doorstep.
You come in, my buddy. I'm a police officer.
Officers found the child's siblings still inside Hildebrandt's house. It took several first responders to coax the child out of a closet. Their condition brought one medic to tears. Officers explored every corner of the house, including a safe room. Inside, they found ropes and bindings used to hold down the children. They also photographed a cayenne pepper and honey tincture used to dress both children's wounds on their wrists and ankles.
I'm a little nervous.
At the police station, Hildebrandt said officers didn't know the full story.
You knew all the pieces. I think you have a lot of empathy for what's going on.
She refused to talk to police without her lawyer, the same route her business partner Ruby Franke took.
I'll wait till I have a lawyer.
While her children were put on a 3-day medical hold at a nearby hospital, she stared at officers, refusing to answer any questions.
Both are under arrest right now for child abuse.
Now, there's a comprehensive investigation that is going on, even though they are sentenced and everything else. But the Franke journal entries, Ruby Franke's personal journal, detailed her justification for all this abuse, describing her children as weak-minded, manipulative. She wrote about making them sleep on the floor, shaving their heads, forcing their heads underwater, and then starving them. And then there's body cam footage of the police when they entered the residence the day of the arrest. Officers entering the home discovered the children in distressing condition.
Well, that's right. The calls from jail that were included in the case files now give us some insight into how the women viewed the investigation and the charges against them, and what changed once the two were separated and behind bars. Stoic and mostly silent.
I'll wait till I have a lawyer. Okay? So, not this at all.
Ruby Franke didn't talk to investigators the day of her arrest last August. Neither did Jody Hildebrandt.
So I trust my attorney. He said don't say anything.
But from jail, the women did talk over the phone.
This is the witch hunt.
The day after her arrest, during calls with the man we believe is her estranged husband, Kevin Franke, Ruby justifies her actions.
Adults have a really hard time understanding that children can be full of evil and what that takes to fight it.
Weeks after her arrest, Hildebrandt denies responsibility for one of the children's severe injuries.
We didn't do that. We didn't do that. Those pictures we did not do. I mean, I should be here. I haven't done anything wrong.
In September, Franke was still defending Hildebrandt.
Poor Jody, they misinterpret her, they misunderstand her. She puts her neck out on the line for people and then they get mad at her. I mean, it is just horrendous.
But by early December, Franke's perspective on her once friend and business partner seems to shift.
And I think just being gone and not hearing her has cleared a lot of things up for me.
A few weeks later, Franke had this to say about Hildebrandt's decision to plead guilty.
The only reason she pled is because she didn't want to do life, and she knew I would testify.
The most recent call from Hildebrandt is from February, after her guilty plea.
And the children shall rise up against their parents and shall cause them to be put to death. That statement right there is what's going on with me.
In one of Franke's calls, she talks about the differences in the two women's plea deals and how she might get out sooner than Hildebrandt. Franke says she doesn't know whether she'll end up serving months in prison or several years. Both women are set to appear before Utah's parole board for the first time in September. Mike and Ashley.
All right, Danny, thank you. And KSL was also in the courtroom during sentencing for both Franke and Hildebrandt. Before learning her fate, Franke had a much different tone than she did on the day of her arrest.
I can see now
Over the past 4 years, I was in a deep undercurrent that led us to danger. I would never have led you to darkness knowingly. I was so disoriented.
What is her remorse? What is she sorry about?
That she didn't make different decisions, and that would have resulted in the children being more protected.
Is she delusional?
I'm not going to respond to that.
Jody Hildebrandt, the one-time Utah mental health counselor sent to prison for abusing the children of her business partner Ruby Franke, has been called evil by people close to the Franke family, but others say they've been trying to call out Jody's ruthless behavior for years, and it took an emaciated child covered in bruises and restraints going to a neighbor's home to beg for help before many of these crimes now came into the light. But now, a new lawsuit from a former client of Jody's company, Connections Classroom, details other alleged criminal activity.
So when I think about the word hijacked, I think about distortion. I think about the characteristics of distortion. So control is a characteristic of distortion. Engaging in any form of deception, so manipulation, secrecy, hiding, entitlement, aggression, threatening, bullying, blaming, all of those presentations are all distorted because they all have the underpinning of deception.
And there's over 200 photographs of witness statements corroborating the children's accounts of abuse, painting a clear picture of this horrific environment they endured, which I'm glad they had all these pieces of evidence because it was pivotal in securing the arrests and convictions of Ruby Franke and Jody Hildebrandt. Now, these type of cases are a clear catalyst for necessary dialogue on the responsibilities of content creators and the protections of vulnerable individuals. You know, you have to look at it with exploitation versus entertainment. Are these kids really having fun, or is this just feeling more like work for them? Lack of regulations. I mean, most countries, including the U.S., have little to no laws protecting children featured on social media platforms. Now, there is a psychological impact. The emotional development under constant surveillance, always have somebody watching them. It almost feels like they have to fake a persona or not be themselves. In a lot of cases, the parents are the managers of this. They're the ones that are pushing for this because obviously it's a money train. It just pours in money for the parents. But they have a tendency to become momagers. Now, there are voices of former child kid-fluencers and advocates that are pushing for the California's Coogan law for kid-fluencers and minors that are on social media platforms. I mean, obviously, there have been many kid actors that you've seen in the news that have major, major problems with their parents. One, for instance, Macaulay Culkin. His dad took so much of his money. But what the Coogan law is now, it requires 15% of children's gross earnings to be placed in a trust account accessible upon turning 18. And this law is named after Jackie Coogan, a child star who struggled to access his earnings. And it's designed to protect the child's financial future. It also mandates that the trust account where the funds are managed until the child reaches adulthood. And it also limits work hours, especially during the school years. It also requires to provide educational opportunities and time for children's schooling while they are working. So that's like having a teacher on set or some type of online schooling program. Now, anyone working with or providing services for child performers in California needs a permit and has to undergo a background check to ensure the safety of this child. Now, in recent legislation like the AB 1880 extends similar protections to child content creators and influencers on online platforms. Now, while California has comprehensive laws, other states have different or even less stringent regulations, and some have no specific child entertainment laws at all. Now, we got to take a quick break, but when we come back, We're going to talk about Piper Rockelle and her momager, Tiffany Smith, and this whole squad drama, and talk about the Netflix documentary series, Bad Influence, The Dark Side of Kid-fluencing. So we'll talk about that right after the break. Did you know that radio just got a little extraterrestrial? That's right, Dave Schrader is back on radio with the Paranormal 360 every Sunday evening, 7 to 9 p.m. Central on WCCO AM 830, an Odyssey station. Just download the Odyssey app and look for the WCCO logo, follow the station, and listen live. That's the Paranormal 360 on WCCO AM 830, an Odyssey station. Now, Bad Influence, The Dark Side of Kid-fluencing, pulls back the curtain on this billion-dollar industry of worldwide child influencers. They're usually kids under the age of 13. They become social media stars on platforms like YouTube, TikTok, and Instagram. They're framed through real-life family stories and expert commentary, and the series really investigates on how these children are being turned into commodities under the guise of family fun and entertainment. Now, this docuseries also explores on how these kids are often promoted by their own parents, are generating millions of dollars in ad revenue, brand sponsorships, and merchandise sales, all without legal protections or guarantee. The central figure of this particular documentary was the squad. Piper Rockelle began her YouTube journey at the age of 9 years old, amassing over 14 million subscribers with content ranging from pranks to dance videos. Her mother, Tiffany Smith, managed her career orchestrating this group's dynamics despite controversies of a $1.85 million lawsuit settlement in 2024, just last year, involving allegations of abuse and exploitation. Now, Piper continues her influencer career on platforms like TikTok, Snapchat to get compensation.
Encouraging teens to have oral sex, dress sluttier, and touching children inappropriately are just a few of the allegations being made against a popular YouTuber and her mother. Piper Rockelle has 10.8 million YouTube followers. Yes, you heard that right.
Okay, now let's go introduce the squad and give them their clothes.
11 former members of Piper Rockelle's squad are suing her and her mom, Tiffany Smith, accusing them of sexual battery, intentional infliction of emotional distress, and then trying to destroy their YouTube channels when they left the show.
You may now kiss your partner.
Former members of the squad claim in the civil suit filed in Los Angeles in January of 2022 that Piper Rockelle's mother, Tiffany Smith, made sexually explicit comments, such as telling one girl she had no boobs. The suit also claims Smith called two boys, quote, horny bastards when they held hands with two girls, and mailed her daughter's used underwear to someone telling a squad member, quote, old men like to smell this stuff.
I look at her and I'm like, hey, Mom.
Yeah, if she's... The suit also claims that Tiffany Smith, seen in this video, showed one child the website Pornhub, discussed sex toys with some of them, and asked one boy whether or not his testicles had dropped. The 11 plaintiffs eventually left the show. When that happened, Sarelson says Piper Rockelle and her mom and Hunter Hill, who is Tiffany Smith's live-in boyfriend and also the director of the show, conspired to hurt the plaintiffs' YouTube channels.
The social media world is an interesting place because your revenue, your status is determined based on subscribers and viewerships. So there's two things that you can do. One is you can artificially increase your own numbers. You can have fake accounts, you can have bots to increase your numbers, or you can do that in reverse to injure other people's accounts. And a very common way to do it is to simply report a particular account as violating the terms of service or the community guidelines. And it sort of becomes like a self-censor issue where once you're dinged for having some kind of a violation of community standards, you're more likely to be dinged in the future for these, except there's no actual violation of the community standards.
Former squad members are seeking damages, possibly in the millions of dollars, because they say Piper Rockelle's channel made millions off of their contributions to the show.
There are some other remedies that we'd like to see, some changes in the law, maybe some changes in the industry, but I can't get that relief in this lawsuit itself. That's going to have to come from state legislature, Congress, the industry norms. It's not going to come from this lawsuit.
Now, here are the allegations against Tiffany Smith. Emotional and psychological abuse. Smith was accused of fostering a toxic environment where children's self-worth were tied to their on-camera performance. Former squad members describe being coerced in humiliating scenarios and subjected to psychological manipulation. Then there's the physical abuse. The lawsuit alleges instances of physical abuse, including coercing children into inappropriate content and subjecting them to physical harm during filming sessions. Sexual abuse has been alleged as well. Several former collaborators accused Smith of sexual misconduct. One ex-squad member, Fergie, claimed that Smith sexually assaulted her and others, including an incident where Smith allegedly climbed on top of her while she was sleeping. Yeah, and it was even caught on camera. At one point, there was one of the squad members. It was a transgender squad member, and at the time he was only 17, and it was recorded and put on a live stream that she just turned around and planted like full-on tongue kissing on this boy, 17-year-old boy, and then all of a sudden it got erased from the internet. But some people did catch it, so here is that clip.
Yeah, as you can clearly see in this video, she forces herself on him, and then Piper peels her mom's face away from his, and then her mom goes back and does it again, and then Piper peels her face away from him again. I mean, what the hell?
She is alleged to orchestrate inappropriate interactions with a stalker. Smith was accused of sending photos of her underage daughter to an online stalker in exchange for expensive gifts. She allegedly encouraged other parents to do the same, despite acknowledging the individual as a pervert. And she's also mailing her daughter's undergarments. Smith allegedly mailed Piper's soiled training bras and panties to an unknown individual, claiming that old men like to smell them. Oh, gross. She denies these claims, stating that her daughter's work with Poshmark did not include undergarments. Financial exploitation. The lawsuit claims that Smith failed to compensate the child influencers adequately for their work. Despite the significant revenue generated from their content, this included non-payment for videos and earned substantial income. Yeah, these kids were working night and day at her house. Hunter, her boyfriend / producer / whatever, at one point when he was just brought into the picture on YouTube, he was portrayed as Piper's older brother, but in actuality he was Piper's mom's boyfriend, not her Piper's brother. This is the kind of crap these women are putting up, and these kids are supposed to be able to live these lies. Like, no wonder they're screwed up. She is accused of violating child labor laws. Smith faced allegations of violating child labor laws by overworking the children and not providing appropriate breaks or compensation, contributing to the damaging work in the environment. Now, in October 2024, Smith settled the lawsuit for $1.85 million without admitting any liability. She and her daughter Piper Rockelle have denied all the allegations, attributing them to jealousy and rivalry among all the other stage parents. These allegations have sparked broader discussions about the exploitation of child influencers and the need for stricter regulations to protect minors in a digital entertainment industry. Now, with advocates growing in numbers, thanks to influencer advocates like Sarah Adams from the MomUncharted.com, and she is also behind the KidsAreNotContent.com. And she knows what she's talking about because she is the visionary behind the Kids Are Not Content. She is an advocate for children's online safety and privacy. And as a digital content creator, she understands firsthand the challenges and concerns parents face in today's digital age. And with her background in child advocacy and digital media ethics, and she is also a mother of 2 young children herself, she brings that unique perspective and an unwavering commitment to the mission of Kids Are Not Content. And the one thing that Tiffany would also do is she would manipulate the parents and the children to the point where, like, it's like a cult. If one of the kids wanted out of the squad, they would literally be ousted. It was like Scientology, where they are labeled as a suppressive person, an SP, and they have to disconnect and from their family member. I mean, that it's almost like that. And she would meddle in between and create fights when there was no fight to be had, and causing parents a lot of headaches, and the children a lot of anguish that they did not have to go through. Oh my God, I don't understand how a parent can do this. It is so beyond me that a parent could literally just destroy their child's life for money. But now here is where my mama bear is going to come in, because one thing I would like to do is I'd like to acknowledge the kids, the former squad members that came forward. That took a lot of courage and bravery to do that, especially in today's age with the internet, social media, and how people are so ostracized within seconds worldwide. So I applaud you for your courage and effort to come forward to shed some light on this topic, because this is just going to be one step closer to shutting shit like this down, and to get protections for kids so they don't have to endure the anguish and agony that you guys all had to endure. So to Sophie Fergie, Sawyer Sorbino, Simone Harrison, Donald Doer, Aiden Meekus, Connor Kane, Hayden Haas, Walker Bryant, Corinne Joy, Claire Rocksmith, and Reese Rocksmith, who happen to be Piper's cousins. I just want to let you guys know that you are the light at the end of the tunnel for Piper. I know you guys feel like you've abandoned her, that you left her behind, but there's the reason for that is that you're going to be shining at the end of that tunnel for her, so she knows where she needs to go, and hopefully she'll open her eyes to see that you guys really care for her, and what is going on in her life is wrong. So hopefully you guys will be there to greet her with open arms, forgiveness, and love. But I just wanted to acknowledge your guys' bravery and coming forward, and hopefully something will come about with this documentary, and something gets pushed to get more Coogan laws placed in place for kids that are kid influencers on social media platforms, so they can get the protection both mentally, financially, and just have a stable life. So why does this matter? Being a mother is supposed to be the most unselfish role you can take in your life. It's about putting your children's needs before your own, loving them unconditionally, making sure they have every opportunity to thrive and grow in a safe environment. At least that's what it should be. But when I look at these women like Ruby Franke and Tiffany Smith, these so-called momagers behind the kid influencers in the documentary Bad Influence, and the docuseries 8 Passengers, and the Ruby Franke documentary on Hulu. But what I see is the complete opposite. These women have turned motherhood into money-making schemes, using their children as tools for fame, profit, and control. What could be more selfish than that? Ruby Franke, for example, treating her children as if they were nothing more than content generators, forcing them to endure abuse, emotional manipulation, and extreme punishments for the sake of online views. She didn't see them as her kids. She saw them as assets. As long as they played parts in the script and viral videos, her actions were so repulsive because they weren't just neglectful. They were cruel, calculated, and most tragically, motivated by personal gain. And then there's Tiffany Smith, the mastermind behind Piper Rockelle's The Squad. It's clear that she saw her daughter and her friends as nothing more than pawns in her quest for internet stardom. Tiffany created an environment where these young influencers were forced to perform for likes, and all while their childhoods were just stolen away by the pressures of growing on social media presence. And when using your child's friends' emotions and personal life for clicks, you've crossed a line, lady. That is not motherly love. That's exploitation. And you're literally pimping out your daughter. I am appalled by how these women have turned motherhood into a transaction. It is heartbreaking because being a mother should never be about gaining followers or lining your pockets. It should be about sacrifice, protection, and nurturing. But what these two women have done isn't just betrayal of their children. It's a betrayal of everything motherhood stands for. These women are an epitome of selfishness. They didn't put their children's needs first. They didn't safeguard their well-being or innocence. They put their own desires, fame, money, power before their own emotional health and the safety of their own children. And that's something no child should ever have to endure. Being a mother means giving. And these women gave their children nothing but trauma, exploitation, and pain. And there's nothing more selfish than that. Well, thank you guys so much. Happy Mother's Day. Honor all the mothers, the grandmothers, the great-grandmothers, the stepmoms, the bonus moms. Thank you guys so much for being the role models that we all look up to be and strive to be. I know I try to strive to be my mom and my grandmas every day, and those are some big shoes to fill. But thank you guys so much, and I hope to see you all next week.
Thank you for joining me for another episode of Mysteries, Mayhem, and Merlot. And until our next case, my armchair detectives, stay safe, stay vigilant, and stay aware. I'll see you right here next week on Mysteries, Mayhem, and Merlot.